Yes, what's good, people? We are back again. We are going to be reviewing the weekend's action coming up. We've got the Sky Sports box office show, headlined by Derek Chisora versus Joseph Parker. Going to be an explosive fight, that one. And we've got also supporting that, Katie Taylor versus Natasha Jonas. We've got Eubank Jr. versus Morrison. And we've got Craig Richards versus Dimitri Bivol. Also on that card, we've got the return of Scott Fitzgerald, my hometown boy, Preston. And we've also got Campbell Hatton making his second appearance in the pro ranks. On the Friday night, we do have Sonny Edwards versus Mythalane, I think is how you call it, or how you pronounce it. That should be a very good fight as well. And I think another fight to talk about on that card is Kieran Smith. And he is going to be going up against Troy Williamson. Very good fight there at super welterweight. We know how big the super welterweight division is doing at the moment, and the kind of level that the fighters are in the UK. That's probably one of the hottest divisions in the UK at the moment, so it'll be good to see who comes out on top with that one. But let's jump into it with the main topic of the weekend, Derek Chisora versus Joseph Parker on pay-per-view, and a lot of people have been complaining about that. Me personally, I think as a standalone fight, it's definitely not a pay-per-view. I think it's a lot to do with the action that Derek Chisora brings, and also the fight week antics that he kind of throws in there as well. He's always very entertaining at press conferences and in the build-up. And obviously, it's supported by a stacked card. They're all kind of fights. The 4 fights underneath it, or the 3 fights underneath it, are all Saturday Night Fight Night headlines. So I can kind of see why they've had to go with the pay-per-view. I think I watched the Instagram live that Eddie Hearn did today, and he did kind of explain that because everyone wants so much money, like you can imagine how much Eubank Jr. will want for that fight. You can imagine how much the purses are for each fight, like the Taylor Jonas one and Dimitri Bivol to get him over to the UK to fight Craig Richards. So you can kind of see why, but I understand why people will complain that it is on pay-per-view. But I'll be buying it anyway, man. I think it's a stacked card, like I said. So let's jump into the main event. We've got Chisora versus Parker. Now, Derek Chisora, every time he's kind of stepped up, he has fallen short. And it's a testament to his fighting style, and it's a testament to, like I said, how entertaining he is, that he's still on pay-per-view with, I think it's 10 losses now. They've all come at a high level. The only person he's really beat at that high level is Carlos Takam, and that was kind of not really world level, but sort of just below that top sort of elite level. But I'm really excited about this fight. I think that Joseph Parker and Derek Chisora have both got that kind of extra added element of excitement with them both having new trainers. Derek Chisora's got Buddy McGirt, and Joseph Parker's been training with Andy Lee and the Tyson Fury camp. And I think that kind of adds to it. It kind of makes us think, how are they going to improve? How are they going to be fighting differently? But we know with Derek Chisora that he only knows one way, and that's to come forward, to throw shots, to put the pressure on. And I think Joseph Parker, in his last performance, it wasn't the best performance against Junior Farr. It was kind of a frustrating watch. But I also do think that because he was coming forward, I don't think he's very good when he is the aggressor in a fight. I think he's much better when someone comes to him or someone meets him in the middle. So I do think that under Andy Lee and with his Kronk style, that he's not had much time to implement it, but I do think he'll have elements of that in there. Like we've seen with Tyson Fury, how much improved, how improved he was from the first Wilder fight to the second Wilder fight, and just the aggressive style that he brought. If Joseph Parker can somehow bring that, I don't think he has the same sort of tenacity or the same personality to kind of implement that style as Tyson Fury does. But even with slight adjustments, Joseph Parker is a dangerous heavyweight and he punches hard. He's a former world champion, let's not forget that. He did beat Andy Ruiz Jr. It was a very close fight, but he's still a former world champion. Derek Chisora, I don't really know where he's going to be at in this fight. Now, he's only had about 6 weeks with Buddy McGirt, who, when I've watched videos, he's kind of said that, he's openly said that he's never really watched a Chisora fight. The first time he actually watched Chisora was when he watched him spar for the first time when he came over. Now, that is kind of, it's good in a way and it's concerning in another way. I feel that him having that sort of fresh mindset going into it, it could help him sort of just see Derek Chisora as a blank canvas. Even though he's not going to change much, it's just like going into it without that preconceived idea of how Chisora performs and how he fights. My prediction for this one is Joseph Parker on points. I think that's just... he could stop him. It just depends how aggressive he is in that fight and how well he's adjusted to that Kronk style. I think in the next fight we see, if he comes through this one with Chisora, I think we'll see even more improvements. And just being around Tyson Fury in that camp is only going to progress him and get him mentally prepared for the fight as well, because Tyson Fury is well known for how well he mentally prepares for his fights. The undercard, let's jump into that one. Taylor Jonas is going to be a very good fight. I think a lot of people are doubting Natasha Jonas, and with right, obviously, the level that Katie Taylor has boxed at, and her run of wins has just been incredible, really. So, but my slight little doubt in that is that she's getting older. Even though Natasha Jonas is a similar age, she's had less fights, and she did have that stoppage. I'm trying to think of the girl now. It was what was the name now? I can't remember the girl's name that stopped her. She's fought Terry Harper and I think she's fought Katie Taylor as well. But in that Terry Harper fight, I had Terry Harper to win that and even stop her late on. But she just proved me wrong, man. She was great in that fight. She was really strong. And if she can come with that same level, I do think she can give Katie Taylor a very hard fight. So I'm looking forward to that one. I do think that Katie Taylor will take that, maybe even a stoppage. Her work rate is just going to be too much for Jonas, and I feel that she might just get on top of her. Jonas will try and throw them single shots, and I just don't think that's enough against Katie Taylor. I think the only way to beat her is to kind of have that work rate that we saw with the Delphine Pursoon fights. But yeah, going to be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you guys are thinking for them top two fights. Make sure you leave your predictions down in the comments. Get involved. Now, working down the undercard even more, we have Dimitri Bivol versus Craig Richards. I've said this in my previous video on the cash one when I sort of talked about it. It is a mismatch. Craig Richards jumping straight from that British title to the world level. So it's going to be a bit too much for him. Now, he does have that added extra sort of boost and motivation of the camp that he's in are doing so well at the moment. We saw Felix Cash, we saw Ted Cheeseman, we saw Conor Benn, and they've all kind of exceeded what I thought their performances would be. But at the same time, it's just a massive ask. Like, Dimitri Bivol was a very good amateur. He's not really lost many rounds as a professional, and even though he's kind of won on points for the past few fights, I just feel that at Craig Richards, the level of Craig Richards is nowhere near the level of opponents he's been fighting. So let me know what you guys think of that one as well. He's always going to be in with a chance. He does hit hard, I think deceptively hard, Craig Richards, and I think he's just a little bit too stiff. I think he'll just get pinged about all night, but we'll see. I'm predicting a late stoppage for Dimitri Bivol in that one. Now, also going even further down, it's kind of mad to see Chris Eubank Jr. maybe the fourth or third fight on a card, but him versus Marcus Morrison is probably why. Marcus Morrison is, I don't even think he's really maybe just about British level. I know he won that fight against Vladimir in Italy, but Vladimir is not the best fighter in the world. So I think that he stops him. I know Marcus Morrison hasn't been stopped yet, and he's lost to some journeyman. I mean, he lost to Ty Booth. We all know him in the YouTube boxing community. I just think he's going to get on top of him, maybe even in sort of 3 to 5 rounds. I think he might stop him. I don't think it's going to be a full knockout. I don't think Eubank Jr. has that one-punch knockout power. It's more of an accumulation of shots. But he can definitely get on top of him and kind of make him pay. I think Eubank Jr. himself is fringe world level. I don't think he's a little bit more than European, but he's definitely not elite level in the slightest. But yeah, a good card there. We're going to jump into the Sonny Edwards one as well. But before that, we'll talk a little bit about Scott Fitzgerald. Now, my hometown boy had the wins over Fowler, Cheeseman, but now he seemed to found, because of the timeout, he's seemed to find himself in a position where he's kind of behind all those guys and needs to get a couple of wins maybe to sort of get himself clear mentally and just get back on track, really, because he's a crazy talent. I've had the sort of joy of watching him progress, even in the amateurs. When I used to watch him in the amateurs, he's kind of surprised me how well he's done as a pro. I thought he would kind of fall short in that domestic bunch, but he's just got some very raw talent, and it's a shame to see him kind of do himself dirty in a way with how he's acted outside the ring. Yeah, I do think Scott Fitzgerald can play a massive part in this sort of world scene, or the British level scene going on to world level in the super welterweight division. I just don't know if that inactivity and them sort of issues are going to come back to bite him, even in a rematch with Fowler. I know it was close. I do think Fowler got a little bit too emotionally involved in that fight, and with the Cheeseman fight, it could have gone either way. I do feel that they gave it to Fitzgerald just because he had that unbeaten record and he's such a big ticket seller. That's going to be always going to be a big point. But I'm looking forward to seeing him back in action. Hopefully he can get a good knockout win and maybe get another fight at a slightly higher level to who he's going to be fighting. We don't know who he's going to be fighting on Saturday, but I'm presuming it's not going to be someone that's got any chance of beating him, to be honest. But yeah, I'll drink. Yeah, I do think that he's got a good chance to come back, and I would like to see him come back in devastating fashion. But also on that card, Campbell Hatton making his second appearance as a professional fighter. Now, the first one he did kind of blow a gasket in them first couple of rounds. Probably wanted to impress, and with all the hype of him being Ricky Hatton's son, wanted the knockout. I do think that came back to bite him in definitely the end of the third round and the fourth round. I've actually sort of got a bit of an insight into that camp. I've spoke to and I've interviewed Damien Chambers before, who is also trained by Matthew Hatton up at the Hatton gym in Manchester. And Damien Chambers is someone that I've spoke to quite a lot. He's a very good cruiserweight. I think he's 11-1. And just a good guy in general. He makes a lot of music, which I do. I do think that Campbell Hatton is better than that. As an amateur, he didn't achieve much, but I think he's got that professional style for sure. And under the tutelage of Matthew Hatton and having Ricky in his corner there, just to kind of give him advice and talk him through the moments where he maybe is inexperienced and that inexperience could play a part, he's kind of got that extra sort of set of eyes and extra guidance of both of the guys being through them situations before, especially Matthew training him, who had that pressure of being Ricky Hatton's brother. I think that's always going to help him. Hopefully we can see him in another sort of knockover fight. I'd like to see him get a knockout win and kind of just work on their mistakes, work on that over-eagerness, and just be a little bit more patient, but still be ferocious. That is what I want to see from Campbell Hatton. I think all of us want to see him be ferocious and to kind of shut everyone up how Conor Benn has under that same pressure. So looking forward to seeing how he's going to be performing on Saturday. Let me know what you guys think of Campbell Hatton so far. It's very early days, very hard to tell what level he is going to reach, but hopefully he has that work rate of Conor Benn and he can kind of follow a same sort of trajectory into the pro ranks. So we're now going to jump into the BT card. So we have Sonny Edwards challenging for that world title. We did talk about this in a little bit of sort of detail on at the end of the last video with the Felix Cash one, but I do think that Sonny Edwards can pull off the victory. It's a tough fight against someone that is unbeaten in 12 years, and even though he's not really fought the elite, I mean, he has a win over Zolani Tete, who's a big name at that weight. So it's going to be interesting to see where Sonny Edwards is at. He's got the boxing ability to certainly win a lot of the rounds. It's just whether he can do that for 12 full rounds against an experienced guy. I think he's like 39-2, the other guy, 24 KOs. Now, we know Sonny Edwards is not the biggest of punchers. So if he doesn't get that respect and he can't keep him off him, he might have a very, very tough night ahead. I'm hoping he can pull it off. I'm hoping he can get the victory. It would be another edition, another British world champion. And he's kind of got past that stage where Charlie Edwards failed, his brother Charlie failed initially against Casemiro. So I'd like to see him pull off the victory. And also on that card, we have Kieran Smith versus Troy Williamson. A very, very underrated fight. It's kind of going under the radar. I think Troy Williamson's 15-0-1 and Kieran Smith is 16-0. So both undefeated. Someone's always got to go, as they always say. Troy Williamson's a very hard hitter. He had that amazing fight with Jack Flatley that wasn't televised. Now that was criminal because that was a brilliant fight. I remember watching the sort of phone recording of that, and he dropped Flatley early and somehow it was a draw. I thought he won it in my opinion. Him against Kieran Smith, who's had a few decent fights but it never really been tested at much higher than like WBO European level. So it'll be good to see where both of them fighters are at, and the winner kind of thrust himself into that bunch. Not quite up there with the Cheeseman, Fowler, Fitzgerald, but slightly below. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top of that. I'm kind of happy that the BT show's on Friday and the pay-per-view is on the Saturday. It does mean that we don't have to kind of flick between both of these. But I'm going to be doing a live stream on Saturday night. I think I'm probably going to do the Taylor Jonas fight and the Chisora Parker fight as a live stream. So I'll be on live for about two hours or so. It's actually my first live stream I've ever done on YouTube. So make sure you join me. I'm going to try and hopefully show a little bit of the fight. I know you can get a lot of copyright issues when it comes to things like that, so we'll see how we go. I just don't want to get any strikes or anything, but I'll see if there's any way. I'll research it and see if there's any way I can kind of show you, maybe if I flip it so it's orthodox will be southpaw. We'll see anyway. I'll try and find a way around it, but big up to everyone who's tuned in for this one. I hope you all have a good week. As I said in the previous video, excited for a good weekend of boxing once again. We also have the Andy Ruiz Chris Arreola fight. I might do a little bit of a preview on that. I'm not sure yet. It's not the biggest of card. It's pretty much a formality who's going to win that, so not of much interest. Maybe do a little bit of a review on that after it on the Sunday or Monday next week. So hope everyone's taking care, as I said. Nice one for tuning in for another video. Peace out. Let's go, man.